video picked that up. It drives me fucking nuts. It starts happening once it's been sitting there idling too long, or if you've been driving in the city and it kind of gums it up, and it won't clear up until you've been out on the highway to blast it out. So guys, I really am chasing the last 10% here because I daily drive this car. I think I just ticked over 10,000 miles in it in a year. So I mean, apart from this, I mean, it just runs perfectly, you know. But it just drives me nuts, this problem, and this is what we're going to fix today. Hey all, I hope you're doing well. It'll be a quick video today, but an important one nonetheless, because I believe I have found the last piece of the puzzle that's preventing me from reaching that perfect 100% perfectly running engine. So it's a little bit annoying because this is an issue that I should have seen much earlier in the game. I've been chasing that magic for a year now, but I finally reached it, and I'd like to share what I've found with you. So this is something that I do understand and have worked with extensively in the past with my motorcycles. Spark plugs are a much more important piece of the puzzle in two-stroke bikes than they are in our cars. But this ended up being the last problem I faced. So let's talk about spark plugs. The function at their core is to, you know, ignite the fuel air mix that we put into the engine. But additionally, they need to be able to clean themselves, and they do that by getting to a certain heat range, as we'll soon talk about. And at that point, they're able to clean themselves effectively from the carbon remains of combustion outside of the combustion stroke, and in doing so they allow themselves to continue sparking effectively, ad infinitum. If you're outside of the correct heat range in a spark plug, they'll slowly foul up, and the engine will stop sparking the way it should. So our cars from the factory should have had Champion N5s, but they're no longer made. I know you can buy new old stock ones. They are 50, 60 years old, but they're very hard to get. They're very expensive. So that leaves options up to us. There's plenty of different spark plug recommendations out there for these cars, and we'll talk about what you might choose in a moment. So spark plug heat range. You may have noticed the numbers on the end of your spark plugs, which kind of denotes the heat that they will generate outside of the time when they are sparking. So they should reach a certain temperature that will allow them to clean themselves of carbon deposits. So if you have a plug that's too cold, it's going to begin to foul up over time, and eventually that will lead to misfiring in the engine. And inversely, if it's too hot, you'll begin to get heat pre-ignition or heat knock. So that's not from sparking too early. It's from there being such a hot piece of material, or a spark plug, or a little piece of carbon in the engine, which actually pre-ignites the fuel mix, and you get what sounds like marbles in your engine. Now, I think I know exactly why this car was set up the way it was with the spark plugs it had. I never really made an effort to investigate that further. And it goes back to the vacuum leaks. I think this channel could be safely renamed the Jaguar vacuum leak channel, but here we are. So when I got the car, it was vacuum leaking terribly. And I believe that what they've done is actually put colder spark plugs in the engine to eliminate the issue of knocking. It's certainly a very reasonable answer to a complex problem, I suppose, but I can understand why they've done it. So when you have very lean mixtures in engines, you tend to be much more susceptible to heat knock. So I reckon they've probably put colder spark plugs in there to stop that from happening. So now that we've solved the vacuum leaks, we're running a much more stable, reasonable fuel mixture. I'm starting to notice what I didn't recognise at first, but starting to notice some fouling issues. Now, it tends to only happen when I am driving around the city a lot, and I always wrote that off as something that was kind of unavoidable. But I believe that this is a fixable problem, and we can do that by adjusting heat range in the plug. So the moment you take it out on the highway, it would clear it up, but my God, it just annoys me, you know. Good enough is the enemy of perfection, as they say. So yeah, really excited about this. So after we've got the engine right, we're now moving on. So very, very keen to start working on suspension soon. But yeah, let's go and have a look at what these plugs will do. So what I've got here is a set of 6 Champion N9YCs. Now, these plugs are at the lower end of the acceptable range of Champion plugs that you might install in an XK engine. And we're going to be moving up to N11YCs. Had a bit of a think about where I might want to go, and I think 2 steps hotter is probably the reasonable response here. So let's have a look at why this might be getting worse around the city. So even though we don't have discrete accelerator pumps in SU carbs, we do have the damper, and it functions in exactly the same way. So when you plant your foot, the damper holds that piston down and exposes more fuel to your engine vacuum until it rises up to equilibrium, I suppose you'd call it. So you get that momentary rich spike, and doing that heaps and heaps around the city is what is fouling out my plugs. So what we're going to do, install these, go for a nice city drive, and then have a look at them when we get back. So see you guys soon. So here's a closer look at the plugs that I've just pulled out of the car. Don't pay any attention to the ones up here. They're very old. They are the same type of plug, but I just want to show you this, if we can get that to focus. So I'm very, very confident in my fueling. It runs beautifully, but what we need is for that plug tip to be heating up enough to burn off any remaining carbon of combustion. So what we're looking for is for that to be a little bit whiter. So it's cleaning itself, getting hot enough to clean itself. Let's try it out. Always a little anti-seize on your threads, guys. Alright, so I've just spent the last 15 minutes in inner city Brisbane driving like an absolute tool, mashing the throttle, sitting it there idling for a while. I've been sitting here idling for 10 minutes, and I think we've got a result. So it really has improved the idle. It doesn't seem to be dipping as much, and that kind of half miss, like it doesn't miss completely, it just kind of, I don't know, hopefully that video in the start of this video has really shown what the problem was. But let's just come out to the car. Really nice and clean idle. So yeah, we've gotten somewhere. That's a result. Thanks very much for watching these videos too, guys. Like I know a couple of you have reached out and you know, let me know that, you know, I've had a solution to whatever problem that they've had, and it does definitely make it worthwhile, I suppose, to know I'm not just doing it aimlessly. So yeah, great. See you guys next time.